Well, the GOP's tax plan seems to have unified Republicans far more than any health care plan ever did. The question is whether that unity will hold in time to make changes in the tax code for this year. Here now is Tony Sayegh, United States Treasury Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs and a good friend of Fox and my own. Tony, great to see you. Thanks for being here. You know, Ronald Reagan, I don't have to tell you, Ronald Reagan took his case directly to the American people. He had these primetime broadcasts on all the networks detailing exactly how his tax changes would affect their pocketbooks. They then called their congressman, and that's how the deal got done back in 1981. Is this president going to do the same?
Well, David, great to be with you. Thank you for having me. As you could see, the president already is doing that. He started in earnest back toward the end of August, going out with a very important message on tax reform and tax cuts, which is that we are focused on giving middle-income families tax relief they desperately need.
Prime time is very different than doing the speeches before a crowd that's for you. You know what I'm saying?
I anticipate, David, that by the time we're moving down the legislative effort here with tax reform, that you will see something on prime time from the president.
Great.
But this is what he does best. He engages publicly. He explains why this is so important for middle-income families, for workers, for small business owners. That's who the focus of the tax reform and tax cuts we are working on with Congress are. And that is why when you talk about the fact on the individual side that you're basically doubling the zero tax rate to basically include those that are currently in the 10% rate, that you're taking us down from a 15% rate to a 12% rate, that you're going to double the standard deduction, that you're going to expand the child care tax credit.
We heard all that
this is what's going to benefit middle-income families.
But what we're hearing now is the comments from Chuck Schumer and other people who are opposed to parts of this. Chuck Schumer saying that it's bad for the middle class, when in fact, as you just mentioned, the middle class is going to get about an extra $1,000 in their pocket because you've increased deductibility. You've doubled the deductibility right off the bat. So the president has to make this case to the American people. That's why a primetime address is so important.
And look, and he's making that case, and I'm sure, as I've assured you before, David, you will see him at some point doing just that. But the bottom line is workers are going to benefit because on the business side, we are lowering rates historically. We're going to go from a 35% corporate rate down to 20%. On the small business rate, we're going down from a 39% upper rate to 25%. That's the lowest top rate on businesses that we know create jobs in this country since the 1930s. So Senator Schumer and Ms. Pelosi, with all respect, can continue talking points that Democrats have been using to obstruct tax reform for the last 30 years. But the reality is this is a very different day in America.
Tony, there's one issue that some Republicans have a problem with, and I'm going to read it to you. It's on the top end of the scale. It says an additional top rate on the so-called wealthy may apply to the highest income taxpayers to ensure that the reform tax code is at least as progressive as the existing tax code. Now, a lot of conservatives say our progressive tax code now is one of the reasons that we have anemic growth, one of the reasons that we have a growing disparity between the richest and the poorest. We don't want to maintain the so-called progressive aspects of the tax code.
David, we are talking about the potential of a fourth rate that will not be higher than the existing top rate at 39%. And we're not necessarily going to get there. We might be even lower than that. But it's an option because we have made it abundantly clear that it is not the goal of the ultimate legislation to take the burden on middle-income families. So that's the only reason we've kept that option open.
But you don't want to penalize success at the top rate either, do you?
But at the same time, David, and you know this very well, look at what we're doing to spur competition in business. We are now taking our rates on our businesses that create jobs, that reinvest in the economy, that give their workers pay raises, that grow the economy. We're doing that. That's where you're going to see so much of the growth that we've been missing for the last 8 years. So I would urge you to look at the total package and see what we're doing, because that's what's going to get us to the sustained level of 3% growth, which frankly we achieved last quarter, and we can continue to achieve if we do these types of reforms.
No, you're already above 3%. We'll see whether those numbers change at all. But final question, Tony, is it going to happen this year? Are we going to see a change in the 2017 taxes?
Yes, we are, and that's exactly why we feel our unified framework gives the two committees that write the tax reform policy in Congress what they need to move forward through regular order, get input from other members, and get this to the president's desk by the end of the year so we can give the American people real tax cuts and tax relief.
Tony Sayegh, good to see you, Tony. Thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, David. Thank you.